Baird is committed to inclusion and diversity for our clients, our Baird associates, and for the communities in which we live and work. It's in that spirit that Baird is proud to support Tempo as an advocate sponsor of the 2020 Leadership Summit. Several Baird women are members of Tempo, 3 of whom are joining us today to talk about how to own your career, your life decisions, and your financial future.
Hello, everyone. My name is Costigan. I'm a managing director in Baird's private wealth management business. I've been with the firm just over 17 years, and I'm a member of our executive leadership team. I also run one of our markets in Southeast Wisconsin and a bit of Illinois and lead our experienced advisor recruiting efforts. Here with me today are 2 of our amazing financial advisors who work in the Milwaukee area, and let me introduce them to you. First, we have Lori Gervais. She works with a team out of Mequon, Wisconsin. Lori has nearly 20 years of service with Baird. She's a member of our President's Club, and among many other accolades, she was recently recognized by Working Mothers magazine as a top advisor for her outstanding accomplishments, both at home and in the office. And we know what a tough balance that really is. Lori's played a number of roles within Tempo over the years, from being a Mentor Circle committee member, a mentor facilitator, and a current Mentor Circle member. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Also with us today, we've got Jodi Ristau, who works out of our downtown Milwaukee office. Jodi has been with Baird just over 23 years, and she's worn a number of different hats over that time that have prepared her very well for her role as a financial advisor. In addition to her roles at Baird and in the community, Jodi has also held a number of important positions with Tempo. She's been a Tempo EWL mentor, co-facilitator of a Tempo mentoring circle, a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, also the Professional Development Committee, and she was involved with the 2019 Leadership and Mentor Event Committees. Welcome, Jodi.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Great. Baird has quite a legacy of supporting Tempo, which dates back to the 1970s with one of its first members, our friend and our mentor, Mary Ellen Stanek, and we're very happy to be here with you today. And Baird is very happy to be sponsoring this year's Tempo Leadership Summit, and happy that the organization was flexible enough to allow us this virtual format. So we're looking forward to our conversation today. During our online seminar, our goal is to share time and talk about the benefits for women of working with Baird and at Baird. So let's start with a few questions about both of you. As I mentioned, you've had different paths, a long tenure at Baird, but different paths into the financial advisor role. Lori, tell me a little bit about your path into Baird, your time at Baird, and what your favorite thing is about Baird.
Absolutely, happy to. Well, as you mentioned, I've been at Baird nearly 20 years now, helping families make informed decisions about their money. But it all goes back to my childhood. So I was born and raised in the state of Maine. However, shortly after college, my husband's career moved him to Milwaukee. So we moved to Wisconsin, where I had no relationships, no contacts, but I needed to figure out a way to have a financial career path. So lo and behold, on one day, about 20 years ago, knocked on that door with my paper resume in hand. We did that back then. And I was able to get in at an entry-level position and quickly work my way up to become a financial advisor and certified financial planner. And as you mentioned, I am very honored and proud that I've been recognized nationally with some different accolades, as you mentioned, the top mom advisors, as well as top Forbes advisors. But I have to tell you that the true reward is the fact that I can build both a successful career and have a family at the same time. So many of my predecessors I know did not feel that they could do that in the past, and they really blazed that trail for me. So I thank them for that. And I want to give kudos to a couple of key ladies that have definitely been mentors in my life. One is Barbara Sweeney, who encouraged me to become a financial advisor. And she was a mentor to me for several years, as well as many other fabulous men and women at Baird have been my mentors also. So one story I want to share is when I was 22 years old, I called Mary Ellen Stanek, picked up the phone and called her. She's the director of Baird Advisors right now, as you all know. But I called her and asked her what I needed to do to have a successful career path at Baird like her. And she spent over a half an hour on the phone with me, sharing stories and ideas. And I just have to tell you, she probably does not remember that, but that just gives kudos to the mentoring mentality and the culture at Baird. And that is definitely one reason why I love Baird and stay at Baird.
You're so right. I would venture to guess that she might remember that conversation. I think she has mentored and invested in so many women in the Milwaukee area, and of course at Baird. And it always strikes me that she, as we cross paths, she recalls conversations we've had at any point in time. So she's been a tremendous sponsor. You also hit on something that I think is really interesting. The career path of financial advisor is sometimes underestimated or underrated in terms of having balance or the ability to kind of do it all, whatever that looks like. But I was glad to hear you hit on that, because I do think, particular in today's day and age, as compared to maybe many, many years ago, that's certainly a possibility, and you've done very, very, very well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Jodi, your turn. Tell us a little bit about your very unique path into Baird, through Baird, and where you are today, and your favorite thing about Baird.
Sure. It's definitely been a unique path. I actually, my undergrad is in music. I have an opera degree, and just needed a job. And I came in through a temp agency and landed at a bank. And I supported the chief financial officer, chief investment officer of the bank, Security Bank, which was bought by M&I. And he was a teacher at heart. He had his Bloomberg up, and I started to learn about the industry and about the markets. And I'm like, this is really interesting. And so it just piqued my curiosity of, wow, I could see myself staying in this industry. And about a year into me having that position, the bank was being sold to M&I Bank. And so all the executives at Security Bank were retiring. And we actually were a client of Baird. And so I used to talk to Pat Lawton from a fixed income perspective. And I took my paper resume too over to Baird, and was lucky enough to get an entry-level position working in private wealth management business. And so did that, went and got my licensing, et cetera. But quickly decided that wasn't the role for me long-term, and put my hand up to be a supervisor within our Milwaukee branch. And so to go more into the people leadership side of things. And was lucky enough to be able to move into that. And while I did that, went back and got my MBA. I just didn't have to do it. It wasn't required to be an MBA, but it was important for me from a confidence perspective, and just giving me that I deserve to be in this financial industry with my music degree. And so the path was unique. I had 6 different kind of progressive leadership positions within Baird. My role before going into a financial advisor position was as the managing director of private wealth management operations and running the various back office functions on behalf of private wealth management. So it's been an incredible journey. One of the things I love about Baird is there's fantastic sponsorship. And I also need to say, my current business partner, I'm a member of the Drosner Phillips Ristau group. Donna was my mentor when I started 23 years ago. And so I was in a class, it was called Investments 101, and she was my mentor as part of that program. And we had always stayed in touch. And for about 10 years, she'd been asking me to be a part of her team. And I was always like, why would I leave? I have this wonderful career path, management path, leadership path. And a couple of years ago, I had the chance to step back and say, I really think I want to be back working with clients. I missed that personal interaction with clients. And so this gave me that opportunity to join this fantastic team with Donna Drosner and Emily Phillips, and to take all of my background and what I've learned in the industry over all the years and really apply it. So mentor, Donna was a tremendous influence in my life, in my career, but I also have to say I had fantastic sponsors. He probably doesn't realize it, but almost every one of my job opportunities, Mike Schrader was always like, Jodi, you want to try this? And I was always like, no, I don't. But I learned that being open to opportunities really opens tremendous paths for you. And so Mike was a tremendous sponsor, even if he doesn't realize it, in my career, along with Tim Byrne. So I had 2 really fantastic leaderships at the executive level, helping me charge forward and really experience my professional opportunities within Baird. So that's what I love about the company.
That's fantastic, Jodi. I love your varied and kind of vast background. I love the singing background, partly because I wish I could always sing, and I certainly can't. I won't put you on the spot because I know you won't do it. But I just think
I won't. It's retired.
It's retired. One of these days, I'm telling you, one of my goals before I retire will be to hear you sing. But I just think it's fantastic. And what you demonstrate is that in the role of financial advisor, people can come into it from any number of paths. And that happens all the time. A music background. It could be a financial services background. It could be psychology, social work. And it goes to show that it really is a career that leverages the very best of women and what they're really good at, which we know is listening and relationship management and collaboration.
Absolutely.
Incredible intelligence to help others reach their goal, which is in and of itself very, very selfless. It's a very selfless act. So I always just love to hear stories from folks on how they got here. I also think it's very interesting, Jodi, you talked about leaning in and through each of those steps. And Lori too, when you called Mary Ellen, or you said, okay, I'm gonna bring this paper resume, I'm gonna get into Baird. Just leaning into that and the intellectual curiosity that you demonstrated through each of those steps, I think really can help a person get anywhere in any organization. Certainly the mentorship and sponsorship is really critical too, and you've both highlighted that. Is there anything else that you would share to help inspire the women who are listening in to lean in, or any other tips or tricks for them to be thinking through as they're maybe navigating their next steps?
I'll start with that. I mean, I think I would say you have to own it. I just think so many people sit back and expect a manager or whomever that's above them in that career path to feed them what to do and what to say and how to build their career in an organization. And I just don't think that's the case. You have to be the one that owns it and asks the questions and raise your hand and give 110% in each and every role in order to thrive. That's what I would say.
And to add on to that, I think, you said you have to ask the question. I think often when it comes to things like that next job opportunity or that promotion or raise for that matter, you can only be told no. But if you don't ask, you won't receive. And so it's really important to ask. If there's something you want, you feel that you've earned, and you have the facts behind how you've earned that, ask. I had a couple of opportunities at Baird that, because I did start in a kind of entry level position to start with, and once I got my MBA, and I was going through just the normal kind of progression of salary increases, I at one point said, I would really like you to look at someone who has the same education now, same years of experience. Am I being paid commiserate that they are? And it made a big difference, because they're like, well, actually, we should make an adjustment, because I didn't think the regular increase was appropriate, because I had started at a very entry level position and salary wise. And so to me, it's a very specific example of, if I had never asked, I would have just kept moving forward and been disappointed of where I was. And the fact that I asked, they researched it and found the facts, and I was able to, bump up to where I should have been relative to my peers.
That's great. Well, like you said, making the ask, what's the worst you're going to hear is no. And if that's okay, then that's what you might need to hear, or you might need to hear it's a no, and that gives you something more tangible to work at and work on to make that no a yes. I think,
Correct.
Advice I had gotten at one point too from somebody very close to me was to think more grand than I was actually allowing myself to think. I was kind of, the old adage with the lean in materials, if I only meet 7 of these 10 requirements, I don't think it's the right opportunity for me. And I think as women, we tend to do that more, and to think more grand is really an interesting challenge, and one that I try to keep in mind often too. Make the ask, think more grand, lean in.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's switch gears just a little bit. So as female financial advisors at Baird, You are certainly just knocking it out of the park in terms of the work that you're doing, the service you're providing to your clients, and the results you're producing. You are in a group, though, that is predominantly male. So we have just say 17, 18% female financial advisors at Baird, which is actually better than the industry average is, but still it's not 50%. We're working toward that. And yet you're doing it. And Baird just got a top workplace award from Fortune for women. And so tell me a little bit about what it is like to work as a woman in a more male heavy space and how Baird has supported you through that. Let's see, I'll start with Lori.
That's a loaded question.
Now we're going deep. Now we're going hard.
I would say in all honesty, early in my career, it was a challenge. It was a challenge. But I definitely saw over the last 20 years, I've seen Baird rise to the occasion. And I also knew that I, again, had to take ownership. It was my career path too. You can't just sit back. But it can be challenging because in the earlier years, because you needed to maybe perhaps come into the room a little differently, so that they knew you were an advisor and not someone just that would kind of, put to the side as their lesser, Nowadays, it's not like that. It's much better. We've come a long way in 20 years as a company, as an industry, as a country, everywhere. But in the early years, it was tough for sure. And the percentages were even smaller. It was about 8% women when I first arrived. And I was very young too. So young, female, not very many of us. Everyone thought I worked in HR. They just would say, "Oh, are you with HR? Is this why you're in the meeting?" And that's just what they would always say. But after a while, you just hold your own in those meetings, let them know who you are, and it all shook out. But I would say you just have to battle through that kind of thing if you're in an industry that has a smaller percentage of women, and you're equivalent to everyone else in the room. So take a stand and take a seat at the table.
That's right, and own it. Very good, very good. Jodi, any other thoughts that you would share?
Yeah, I think in terms of, most of my experience where it was predominantly male was more on the management leadership side of things. And it's the same concept, get at the table, have a perspective, speak up. I did it early in my career, and this has also changed. You would often be asked to be the note taker, and I'm finally like, I'm not the note taker. I'm not. Someone else can be the note taker. It's almost like you were playing the assistant role. And so I very quickly made sure establish, why I was in the room and what I could offer to the group as a whole. And some of that was putting your head down and producing, and bringing results. And when you did that, you built respect from your colleagues, regardless of your gender. And so I always felt that was the most effective thing, was to come in, put your head down and produce results. And as soon as you do that, you build this respect regardless of your gender, and you have a seat at the table, and you've earned that seat at the table.
Absolutely. The results speak for themselves. That is for sure. In private wealth, we've also had the Baird Women Advisors organization, which the firm has actively engaged in and sponsored annual summits with. I think we've done a nice job of building that network of women advisors too, to support each other, to collaborate. What I love so much is the idea sharing that happens in that group. There's no thought of, well, this is my idea, and if I share it, I'll be less successful. It's no, here's what I'm doing. Maybe it can work for you. Take it into your practice. We have a number of women advisors who call themselves, they're a posse, and they are heavily committed to each other, and they support each other both professionally and personally. And I think that's a really helpful thing when you are in a group where you aren't the majority representation within that group, is to find your group and to lean in and use your voice within that group too. I know many throughout the BWA, or Baird Women Advisors group, have developed leadership relationships, have asked, you mentioned a couple of names, Jodi, Mike Schrader being one of them, and said, we need this. So they made the ask for certain things, whether it was resources or time together as a group, you name it. And it's, there's power in that too. The results absolutely open the door for more of that conversation, and making that ask is really important.
Mhm.
Let's switch gears just a little bit now. Put your financial advisor hat on for the benefit of the group that's listening. Jodi, tell me what kind of conversations you're having with your team, with your female clients right now. There's certainly a lot of material out there, but what are your conversations centered around with your clients?
So right now, I mean, in 2020 is an incredible year. You know, it's just an unheard of year in terms of, yes, we have a very hotly contested election. We're going through a recession, you know, and then let's put a pandemic on top of it all. So many of the discussions are around, especially with the female clients, how are they doing during this time? What are their concerns? And really understanding where they're coming from. And it's, you know, a lot of it is about life balance between work and kids and home, and how do I do it all? How do I manage all of this, you know, because they're being asked to do more, you know, and in a very almost insulated environment. You know, we're confined to our homes, and I'm working there, I'm living there, I'm teaching my kids there. That's a really hard balance. And then we have a lot of clients who don't have kids, but then their challenge is, I'm working, I'm living there, there's no work-life balance, and I'm also isolated and lonely. And so we're having a lot of personal conversations about where you are, what we can do, how do we stay in touch. Many of my conversations have nothing to do with their accounts. It's just checking in on them and making sure that they're taken care of and that they're leveraging the resources that they have available to them. It's just a very unique time. Do we dig into portfolios? A lot of people are concerned, you know, depending on who's elected, what's going to happen to the markets. But we, of course, always advise it's about the long-term picture. And, you know, we bring the facts around. It really doesn't matter who the president is long-term. Yes, in the short term, you can have quite a bit of volatility. But it's about assuring them that they have a financial plan, stick to the plan. If we stick to the plan long-term, you're going to have good results, regardless of all this noise that's going on between election, recession, a pandemic. And then again, are you okay? You know, and taking care of our clients, because they truly become your friends, they become your family. And that's really, really, really important part of what we do for our clients.
Right. Well, they value the steady hand that you provide too in a very unsteady time. There's tremendous value. Lori, what would you say are some of the top topics that you're talking through with your clients, similar to what Jodi mentioned, or anything different there?
Yeah, I would definitely, it is interesting to hear from Jodi, because yes, very similar, Jodi. A lot of the conversations right now, how do I invest in an election year? You know, needing to keep them focused on the long term. If you have a proven investment process, stick with it. You can't let the short term alter things. Also, I'd add that new role as caregiver, or how it's changed, because many kids are moving back home to either work from home remotely or go to school, go to college from home remotely. At the same time, the parent is trying to work remotely. So there's been some both emotional and financial constraints to that. When you double that with taking care of aging parents at the same time, and that might be in their homes, or it might be at nursing homes where they can't see or touch them yet, unless it's through a window, which is very sad. So there's a lot, you know, to Jodi's point, just emotional parts of it, talking about how they're absorbing everything that's going on out there, you know, what the impact is, how they're feeling. And really, mainly, everyone just wants to make sure all their families and family members, everyone close to them, are going to be okay, both emotionally and financially. And I'd say the other question that we're getting a lot is, so what happens if I get forced into an early retirement? Could we stress test that? You know, because we'll talk like that, kind of back at the patio talk about everything going on with politics, pandemic, everything we've just described. But then there is some seriousness when we say, but you know how we've been planning to, you know, to retire in 3 to 5 years, that might change abruptly. as they're looking around in their industry, perhaps it's more vulnerable. So they're wanting to stress test their finances, stress test it. What if I have an early retirement thrust upon me? So we are having those conversations too, to make sure they have a game plan if that happens. But to Jodi's point, a lot of the conversations is about how are the kids doing? How are your kids and grandkids doing? Perhaps our clients are changing or altering their plans so they can help babysit or teach 4K again. You know, it really is the gamut. And I think we're all in this together. We really are talking through things. Just what are other ideas that other clients are doing to handle this? And I think clients just feel better knowing they're not the only one going through this. Because for many of us, depending what state, what city you live in, you are living in a box, you're living in your home, and that's about it. And so you just want to know that you're not alone and that the finances look fine and we'll get through this.
Again, that steady hand that's so important. And you're both highlighting the importance of relationship management. And that's what this business is all about. Yes, there's the financial component and managing people's finances to reach whatever their financial picture is that they're looking for. But at the heart of it, trust is critical, relationship management's critical, and you're doing all of those things seamlessly with your clients. So great job. One more question for you. I want to ask this of both of you. So what would be the top 3 pieces of advice that you would give to professional women right now as it relates to their financial well-being? Jodi, I'll start with you.
So there's an analogy that we give to clients, especially our female clients. And it's, you know, when you go into an airplane and they give you all the safety things, what do they tell you about the oxygen mask? They tell you to put it on yourself first. And when it comes to your finances, you need to be considering about yourself first. And it's very hard as women. We often give so much of ourselves to others. Our children come first, our husbands, our significant others come first. And when it comes to your finances, the best gift you could ever give your family is to be financially independent. So it is important for you to say, I am going to invest in my future, my own financial independence, because that's the best gift I could give to my family. So I love to use that analogy with people because they're like, often they're like, I can't save for my retirement or extra for my retirement because I've got to pay for my kids' school, or I've got this, or I've got these immediate short-term things. And I always, say, even a little bit makes a huge difference, because if you save early and consistently, the power of compounding. And so that's kind of the second thing: save early, save consistently. And if someone tells me I just don't have an extra dime, I'm like, that next raise you get, because you're covering all your expenses, what you have today, that next raise shouldn't become extra, fun money, but that could go into your retirement, fund for yourself. And the third thing I would say is, we often will pay for things like personal trainers or nutritionists or, life coaches or career coaches, but we struggle with paying for financial coaches. And I see our role as holding people, giving them a plan, helping them adjust the plan as needed because environments change, jobs change, et cetera, but adjusting that plan and coaching them along the way for success in the future. And so the third thing is, we're paying for, coaches in all areas of our life. Also finances, you can pay for that also, to truly make sure you have a successful plan and that you hold yourself accountable to what that plan is. Those would be my 3.
Great insights, Jodi. Thank you very much. I love that. Okay, Lori, you're up. What would you say?
I would say ensure you have a seat and a voice at the table. Whether you're married or not, whether you enjoy finances or not, what I'll say is, over the last 20 years, what I have found to be the most crippling is when women are not engaged with their financial plan and investments, and that can put them in a challenging position. So that's one thing I'd say: get engaged with it. The other thing I would say is build yourself a virtual office, a virtual family office. So find a financial advisor, CPA, estate planning attorney, other professionals that are all willing to collaborate together and with you, so that you and your family can create a plan with them in collaboration. And if they're not willing to collaborate, then they're not the right professional. So they should all be working to help you move forward. And the last thing I'd say is if you do have kids, talk to them about money. Share with them what you think the purpose of money is. Share with them your values, your concerns, educate them, help them become financially literate. Because the thing is they can't grow and learn unless you model for them. So those would be my 3 things that I would share.
Those are really fantastic too. I love the very practical and tangible ideas you've given the group too that they can grab right onto. Okay, I lied. One last question that I didn't prepare you guys for, but we're all trying to stay busy and stay healthy and engaged amidst the pandemic. Tell us something you've done amidst the pandemic to stay healthy, busy, occupied, having fun, an idea that might resonate with the rest of the audience.
Well, for me, I have taken so many hikes. I have been someone who enjoys hiking, walking, biking, exercising in the past, but considering many things are canceled or closed these days, right? I have never been on so many hikes in my life. And what's been so fun is I've done it with a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 4-year-old, and a puppy bulldog.
You're Superwoman. You're Superwoman.
Just yesterday on a hike, someone said, that dog made it up this hike. But it just resonates that, you can do anything. You can do, and it just, let's get out there and do something different. Although, like I said, I enjoy exercise as part of my life, I wouldn't have gone and sought out these special, different, unique hikes that I didn't even know existed. It just helps create that family time and doing something different, getting you out of that house, getting you out of the box.
I love that. Yes, I'm picturing you hiking with all of your family and dog in tow, and I just think that's amazing. I was teasing with my husband the other day. I've never purchased so many tennis shoes in a certain period of time like this because we're walking so much, both he and I together and our family, that I'm wearing through tennis shoes at a pace that I never did before. So it's certainly helpful. Jodi, how about you? What have you been up to?
So I continue to get in via Skype. I have a person I work out with, and so I've been doing that via Skype. I did break down. I purchased a treadmill for the winter months because we are walking a lot, right? So I'm excited to do that. I also have gotten out about safely. Outdoor, like meeting a friend for, lunch or a cup of coffee. While we could in Wisconsin, you want to take advantage of getting outdoors, which has been lovely and also allowed me to have social interaction. Speaking of dogs, I have an 18-year-old dog. So our walks are not hikes in any way by any means, but I am outdoors with her quite a bit. I think me being home has actually given her more life, let's put it that way, at 18 years old. And I have the flexibility to have my email on my phone and go right outside with her. And we mosey, we don't hike. She's a very slow walker, but it's been good. You have to find those opportunities, whether it's physical, taking care of yourself physically and also mentally and socially, and having interactions. A lot of Zoom, a lot of Skype, Zoom happy hours with girlfriends, that sort of thing. Anything to make sure you stay connected with people has been really important during this time for me.
Totally agree with you. There's a power in those connections, and there's no better time than girlfriend time a lot of times. So like you, I've done a lot of those Zoom happy hours, a lot of backyard patio parties, all in a safe way, but the power of connection is really important. So, well, Lori and Jodi, thank you so much for your time today and your insights. It's always great to connect with both of you. You shared tremendous insights, very powerful, tangible ideas for everybody. And I just wanted to say thank you and hope to see you in person sooner than later. But if not, we'll continue doing this next time with cocktails.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Great.
wonderful.
Thank you. Perfect.
This was a lot of fun. Good.
Thank you so much. Take care, both of you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like more information about Baird Wealth Management, careers at Baird, or to learn more about Baird's inclusion and diversity efforts, visit rwbaird.com.